I see an off-air thing on the top right. It
Well,
says
that off-air
off-air.
thing is invalid because we are live
Huh?
from the MGM Grand
Oh, I see
Internet
it. I
Superhighway.
see now. It says live. So we should. Hmm. I don't know if we should. We should probably save this as for only us to view until. Uh,
If you can put it up tonight, if you can put the audio up tonight, but the whole purpose behind this was because the last time we did a podcast, it came out a week later. So everything that we talked about was old stuff. And
right.
the big weekend, McGregor's fighting, I feel like we
Yes.
need to put something up. So as long as we don't go on miniature tirades about people we don't get along with in the comedy scene, everything will be fine.
I didn't. I'm gonna cut. That's not. That's not making its way
I'm
into
just saying. I'm just saying. For this, I just want to talk about the, the fights to look forward to ahead. Um, if we need to shorten it down, I can edit it, but I can't do a ton of in between editing. But
right.
uh, I think it's all good. It's a natural flow of a podcast, and we could put the touched up, polished up one on iTunes, Fans FM, Stitcher,
I
and
have to. I have to do.
Podbean. So
I have to do my first I have to just out of being kind to one of my other guests on the Ridiculous Nicholas podcast. She was a politician. She's a state rep, and one of the people that she talked about fondly was just arrested for trying to solicit a 14-year-old girl. And
oh,
so she sent me a text message the other day. She goes, "Hey, would you mind? I really hate to ask this, but could you take that podcast down?"
oh, I could
And
see
I
that,
said, "I
especially if
said,
it's so
well,
common.
I- I'll, I'll edit it. I'll edit out the parts where you talk about that dude, but I have to put the podcast back up."
But I will
And
talk about it on my other podcast. Not
no, we haven't started yet. This is all going to be
we
edited out.
have started. I
Oh,
already
we have started.
that's why it
You're
says live.
broadcasting live. All right. Nobody knows shit. Hey, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, animals of all varieties, it is the ridiculous. You got me all fucked up.
Hey, it's
All
the
right.
special live edition where we instantly fuck up.
It's the Snuffleupagus. Uh, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, animals of all varieties, it is the MManiacs podcast. Nick David,
And via satellite, Matt Kona.
Matt Kona via satellite.
Because you have a
Uh,
microphone and I don't.
I do. I do, but the microphone that you're hearing on your end is the microphone on my tablet, I believe, not the microphone that I'm speaking into. So this will be better audio on this end, which is yeah, whatever. So we have a lot to talk about. Um, we have the fights, last week's fights to talk about, and this coming week's fights to talk about, and what else? How are you?
I'm fine. I'm looking forward to the fights this weekend. It feels like last Saturday's fights were so far away
I
because
know.
I was just thinking about Norman Park popped into my head the other day, but I didn't remember if he won or lost. And I remember because there were so many fights on that card, and they were all on Fight Pass, so they were all boom, 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 pretty much right one
Yeah.
after another. Um, but did you end up going back and watching all of them? Last I spoke to you was about these fights was at 1 in the morning when you were driving home from the Blues Festival. Correct.
Uh, yes, I've gone. I think I've watched. Yeah, I watched everything. I watched everything because I was planning about talking about. I was planning about doing a podcast on. Was it? What was it? It was today? Today's Thursday. What time? You came up Monday. So I was planning on Monday. I thought we were going to do a podcast regarding all those fights. So I did
Yeah.
all my due diligence and watched all of the fights so we could talk about them that night. And then we didn't. Then we just had like a goof off podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really talk about fights at all.
in
We
MMA.
talked about Landwehr's head trauma, and that's as much about fights as we talked, I think.
I yet tried to ask upcoming guest Ryan Chaney if he liked punching people in the face, but uh, it didn't. It was just a fun podcast that is probably much more trouble than it's worth for you to edit.
Yeah, there's a lot that has to be taken out of that mess.
But this
I
is
did
live.
I did piece all of the pieces together, so I have it all in a everything's pieced together in the order that it's supposed to go into, and it's all saved as one big file. So I've done all that editing that way. So now what I just have to do is go in and chop out little pieces and put on the beginning and put on the ending. And some point you'll be able to listen to the silliness that transpired on that day, our fine listeners. Until that point, you'll just have to take our word for it. It was silly.
Okay,
It was a silly night.
So what are your first reactions to the press conference?
Uh,
I know that the UFC kind of tricked everyone into watching their 1 hour road to UFC 196 production, which is good, but I've already seen it.
Right. That's the part that bothered me, is I had already watched it as well. So we both got to watch it twice now.
Yeah.
Yeah, did trick everyone into that for sure.
That's your first reaction? No, I've been tricked.
What's that?
What do you think about what went down? There a little scuffle at the end. It's already
It's
memes and tweets of it all over. Just look at the hashtag.
did you lose audio halfway through the face
Yes,
off
but
between?
I,
Okay,
I've
all right.
since
I wanted to make sure that wasn't just me and it was everyone. So we lost all the audio halfway through the face off between Misha Tate and Holly Holm, and then it continued through the fist slapping, and the whatever scuffle ensued there, and then after it was when they it's almost like they knew it was going to happen and they blanked out the audio so they didn't have to hear the shits and fuck yous and all that. But
well, that's happened before with the audio at the end of when it comes to the stare downs. But if you want to hear it, can you hear this?
I can hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Did you hear one of the press people said something like that was exactly how I expected it to go down, right?
yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that. He was saying to somebody who was standing next to him. He said,
Well,
did you expect it to go any other way, or something like that?" And then at the very at the very end, I don't know if you watched it all the way until there was
of
no
course,
air anymore,
yes.
but at the very end, there was somebody in the audience that shouted out, "Fuck you, Nick!" And you could hear it audibly, "Fuck you, Nick." And then so over in that corner, there was like 30 people all in that corner where the Diaz's brothers were on stage, and you just see an arm thrust out of the middle of the crowd with a middle finger on it.
Yeah.
So that was entertaining for sure.
Well, here is the audio from right as they came in on both sides of Dana.
Is this like some fan video? That doesn't sound like anything really, just a bunch of noise.
Okay, whatever.
So,
There were a few. This is a very Irish thing. There were a few "Who are ya" chants, which is their taunt.
oh,
Who are
is
ya?
that's
Who are ya? Who are ya? Who are ya? Very soccer.
that's an Irish thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Or it's a Europe thing, but that's where I learned it was from the Irish. I'm not sure exactly, but I will say Connor had very fast hands, reaching over with the left and smacking Diaz's fist down,
Right?
and Diaz got noticeably annoyed when he was hopping around him, and then he seemed to catch himself, like he knows that Kona got to him in that moment.
Yeah.
And so he just had to keep up appearances, talking shit back and forth. And then when everyone in his crew jumped on stage with a backpack on, Jake Shields, Nick
It's
Diaz,
always funny to me that whenever there's any kind of altercation, that whole entire crew gets involved. Like it was just McGregor on stage, and then there's like all of a sudden there's 7 people from Carlson Gracie's on stage. And that's how
yeah,
they. I don't know if you remember back in Strike Force, when oh, what's his dang name? Now that you just said his name, and I can't think of it.
Jake Shields.
Yeah, Jake Shields. Jake Shields has just defended the title or won the title or something, and Mayhem Miller jumped the fence. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Mayhem Miller
I
jumped
wasn't
jumped. He
watching
was in
it.
the audience. He was in the audience. He came up, jumped over the fence, and
It was in
gotten.
Kansas, I believe.
Oh Jesus! More information than I have.
I think that's true because I wasn't watching it at the time, but when I'm listening to the Let's Get It On podcast with Big John McCarthy and Sean, fuck, he used to be the commentator on Spike TV from Bellator. Um,
Oh, dang it! I just had it for a second too. Sean Shelby. No, not Sean Shelby.
no.
Uh,
Anyway,
anyways, go
it's
ahead.
a great podcast. I'm sorry that I can't. Anyway, I know that they travel in packs like a bunch of gazelles, as he said.
Well, it was just that particular situation really annoyed me because it ended up being the whole crew taking on Mayhem Miller. It's like you guys are all professional fighters. Any one of you can take on any one of you at any given day. You know,
Yeah,
I just remember Nate Diaz kicking Mayhem Miller while he was down on the ground.
yeah.
It was such a punk ass thing to do. But that's what that reminded me of this press conference was there's the whole crew again. It's just McGregor, who you guys, each of you has outweighed by 20, 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's going to take 3 of you that outweigh him to, whatever.
Sean Wheelock is the
Sean
name
Wheelock, yes.
I was looking for.
So he was on Let's Get It On.
He's a co-host of Let's Get It On with referee Big John McCarthy.
Oh, okay.
He's also he works for the Kansas State Athletic Commission. He's actually one of the reasons that Bellator and some states are changing their rules on weigh-ins, whereas if you wake up at your weight, you can weigh in that morning and then start rehydrating and still just go to the weigh-in ceremony that they show, the pageantry they show on TV, but you'll be at your normal weight. So
that's a good deal. That's really good.
yeah, very positive for fighters' health. So
Yeah. Wow, that's great.
yeah.
Good for them.
But he works a lot on. He was at that big summit after the incident happened and won championship, and they're on a committee to propose new rules to keep health and safety up. So yeah, and a good journalist and podcaster as well. So
good.
Sean Wheelock.
Yeah, I've downloaded
blanking on the name.
Say that again.
I said Sean Wheelock. I apologize for blanking on the name.
Shout out to Sean Wheelock. I have downloaded several episodes of it, but I haven't listened quite yet. I have a lot of podcasts in my queue right now, and I can't get to I haven't been able to get to any of them because I haven't been spending a lot of time at home.
Well, and the time you spend at home, you spend podcasting. What a vicious cycle this is.
Right. I don't have time to listen to other people's podcasts. I just have time to make podcasts for other people to listen to.
Right. And this is your debut video podcast, so it's
Vodcast.
it's a vodcast, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, other thoughts about the press conference? I thought McGregor had some pretty funny lines in there.
I like the one where he said, dance for me, Nate.
But don't look me in the
But
eye.
don't look me in the eye. That was good stuff. It was
Um,
very funny. Very, very funny. I, as much as he's just not as, neither of the Diaz brothers are just not as crafty with their vernacular as McGregor is. He's just good command of the English language. The Diaz brothers talk shit, but it's much more fucking caveman style shit talking.
yeah.
You know?
Yes, I do. No,
Do you know? Do you know? Do
I think,
you?
I think it's the difference between a roast battle and just making fun of someone off the top of your head.
Right.
In terms of because their response is just fuck you. Who do you
Right.
train?
Right.
Who do you train with? Who do you train? That he was saying the same shit that he said at last
Right. At the exact same one. Right. I thought I was having a fucking flashback because it was the exact like same three sentences. I was like, wait, what? You've had a fucking how long ago was it? A week and a half ago? 2 weeks ago? You've
he
had that
did.
you've had that long to think of something like, wow, what if I had time to think of it? If he said this to me, what would I? You've had time to go over that whole thing in your head, and you still are just stuck on the same. You haven't thought about it, so he hasn't thought about it. That's the thing.
Well, he did say a new thing about Ito Portal, who is
Oh, right, with the
the
with the
movement coach.
ponytail. Yeah, that was kind of funny. That was a
He
little bit
first
funny.
he called him a gooky motherfucker. Ito Portal is Israeli. He doesn't look uh, gooky, but Nate Diaz very interesting thing. And
Yeah,
also,
he
I
said something
feel like
about them playing slap ass, playing slap
touch
ass or
spot,
grab ass. What was
touch
it?
spot in the park, touch spot in
touch
the
touch button park. That's
yeah.
funny. That is
You'll
funny.
see who laughs. I mean, I'm a little bit nervous about the fight as a McGregor supporter. That there's a lot to be said about the reach of the opponent, but I believe that he's so fast. He could do a lot of damage to the body. He could shut him down with a liver kick and then ground and pound, and it could be over just like that. But uh,
Well, my biggest concern for McGregor is if he gets on the ground in any capacity, he's outmatched a million times over. So on the top or on the bottom, he's way outmatched by Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is a motherfucker black belt. He's not just a black belt, he's a high level black belt. And he has high level jujitsu. And we haven't seen that from McGregor at all. I'm sure he's doing his due diligence and I'm sure he's on the mats every day and I'm sure he's working his butt off to get better. But he's not at Nate Diaz's level. If they did a grappling match, he'd lose 100 out of 100 times.
but you don't know that because you don't have the information to go on.
I know how long Nate Diaz has been training in jiu-jitsu and I've seen how he trained. I've seen his results both in jiu-jitsu and in MMA. And I've looked and seen some of the McGregor's jiu-jitsu and MMA. And it's
Where
not
have you
on the
seen his jujitsu if he hasn't really?
YouTube. He's competed in jiu-jitsu tournaments. You can go on YouTube and watch some of his competitions. He's just not at Nate Diaz's level. If Nate, he has a chance if he takes Diaz down and he can stand up and get out of there. If he stays in his guard, he's in trouble. If Nate Diaz gets on top of him, he's fucked.
Yeah.
But having said that, he's fast. His takedown defense is good. So it's a matter of Diaz being able to create enough confusion in order to get a takedown because he doesn't have super crazy good takedowns, Diaz. But if he just like you said, if he cracks him, cracks him in the body and then cracks him in the head and gets him disoriented and does a little trip and gets on top of him, if he gets on top of McGregor's in real trouble. But
yeah, I just don't see
having
it.
said that, I think McGregor's going to win the fight. But these are the situations in which I see, if McGregor could lose, these are the situations I see McGregor losing.
Right. I just I think
You just don't see any situation in any
no,
category.
that's not what I'm saying. You cut me off.
Go ahead.
Cut me off. I
Go
said
ahead.
I don't see any situation where either fighter is going for a takedown. I think the only way that either fighter is getting to the floor is if it's being followed by hammer fists, because I I see it being a striking affair. If there is jujitsu, like that's another thing to worry about. Yeah, I'm not doubting Nate Diaz's power. I'm just saying, aside from the one BJJ competition video, perhaps we could see what he's accomplished in the gym, which we've never seen in the cage. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I have my doubts, but the biggest mismatch for me, the biggest thing to worry about is the reach and getting inside it. But who knows?
Well,
He can hit him with an uppercut in 4 seconds. McGregor's done that before too.
he could. Here's the thing: if Diaz starts getting teed off on, he's going and he realizes he's outmatched. If it gets to that point where Diaz is insanely outmatched on the feet for whatever reason, I think it's gonna be a pretty close contest. Uh, but if it's not, if it's completely lopsided on the feet and Diaz starts getting his bell rung, he's going to start looking for a takedown. And if he gets a takedown, that's that's a bad deal for McGregor's. McGregor's on the bad deal on the bottom right there. Let me tell you.
No, please never tell me. At least is that your character on Supermarket Paul?
That's right, Supermarket Paul. I'm his cousin Sal. Right.
Grocery Store Paul. I'm gonna put out Supermarket Paul before Grocery Store Paul comes out.
We're gonna start our own show called Supermarket Paul.
Yeah, we're gonna turn it over in no time. It'd be great.
Did you want to talk about last week's fights at all?
We could talk a little bit. Yeah, sure. We could. What do you want? Which one do you just talk about the main event?
I have a bunch of notes because I watched all the fights and I took notes on the fights. Let's see here. What do we got?
We should post these on a blog because I had Bellator notes. Some of these notes look like the ranting of an insane person. I don't know how in depth yours are.
It's just brief stuff.
I made some notes.
Timu Pakalan, I really like that dude. He's like he looks like Gunnar Nelson. He looks like Gunnar Nelson and Salvador Dali had a love child. But his jits is crazy good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that dude again.
Who? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Timu Pakalan. He's the Swedish jiu-jitsu guy. Yeah. It looks like Gunnar Nelson and Salvador Dali had a baby. Yes.
Very deserving of the KO or the performance bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he stunned him. He stunned him with a right cross and then took him down and then.
Quick one. It was a quick one. I was thinking about him earlier that day because I wasn't sure if he used mustache wax and if that would be allowed in the cage when they inspect you. But and because there's no Vaseline allowed below the nose, so I think you could do it naturally. I did a few test curls, and it was still in pristine shape at the end.
And the Omelianchuk Donho fight, That's the first time I've ever seen a fight called on low blows. That guy just gave
It
up.
wasn't. Yeah, I mean,
He
he
didn't want to
couldn't
fight
continue.
anymore. He didn't want to fight anymore. He had been beat up enough, and that was his way out. He saw it as his way out. Uh, here's how I can get here's how I can not get my ass handed to me, but not concede that I was beat.
Yeah,
But it backfired. I don't think he realized that they were going to go to the scorecards. He just thought they were going to disqualify him and he was going to get a win. But
yeah.
whatever, who knows?
No, no.
But it was, dude, get in fucking shape. If you're going to come do it, do it. He got his ass beat because he was sucking wind quickly,
Yeah,
very, very shortly into that fight. He didn't look good. He looked like he was worn out right off the bat. So that was disappointing. You, this is one of the things that there's so many goddamn fighters. This dude comes out, Krzysztof Yatko. They announced he's had 5 fights in the UFC. I've never seen the fucking guy. I wouldn't know him if we sat down and had lunch next to each other. I'd never recognize the
yeah.
dude. I don't remember any of his fights. That's the crazy thing about the UFC. It used to be I knew everybody on the roster, every single person that fought for the UFC. I knew who they were, and there's just so many. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Scott Askham knockout. That was great.
Yep.
That was great. Grant Vera fight was a little bit goofy to me. Um, I just couldn't see that he kept grabbing inside of the gloves. I couldn't see it. I'm sure he must have saw it, or he wouldn't have made such a big deal about it. But he was very bossy, very super bossy dude. Just kept yelling instructions at people. You go over there, and you go. They're just the. It's like,
Mark Goddard, man. Hey, you're
yeah.
the authority in there. Stay busy. Stay busy. I'm taking a point.
Yeah.
I loved it. Thought he was great.
The Rivera Pickett fight. I don't know what to say about that. It was a
Decision. I mean, you should say something about. If you don't know what to say about it, don't say anything at all. It was a decision win by Brad Pickett. Split decision. Some would say controversial.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of goofiness in that fight too. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but every decision that happened on that card, every time there was a decision, if there was a Brit involved, it was a Brit that got the nod.
Well, the judges were members of parliament.
I don't know if you saw this when they announced Musasi, when they announced him at the beginning of the fight. I rewound it like 10 times and watched it to make sure it wasn't just me that saw it, because it was definitely a real thing. But when they announced that he was number 9 ranked in the world, he like rolled his eyes and fucking shook his head. It was really just a micro expression, but if you go back and see it enough, you could definitely see exactly what he's saying, which is
Yeah.
what he said at the end of the fight, which is, I'm a top 5 guy. So when
Yeah.
they announced him as at number 9,
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, that's I hate. He should be in control of his own intro. I mean, granted, he should have say of what doesn't get said. As a comedian who's, you don't want to be
you're
brought up.
right.
Yeah, this guy had lost this shitty comedy contest, but here he
Yeah, right. He came in
is.
16th.
Guy's trying to have confidence going into a fight, a
Right.
big athletic competition, and the announcer is shitting on him
Well,
in the intro.
I think it's standard that anyone that's ranked in the UFC gets their rank announced. I'm pretty
I don't,
sure at every fight. I'm pretty sure every fight that
but I'm pretty
the
sure
fighter's
that.
ranked.
But you have a say about what you want in your introduction, your nickname.
Right,
It's
but he
all
might not have a say
this
about that
card.
because I'm almost positive every time there's a fight where one of the fighters is top 15 ranked guy, it gets announced with the introduction, irrespective of I've never seen it not happen. So
I mean, I haven't been looking for it, but I'm just saying that if you're number 15, who gives a shit? I don't know. But maybe that's a big deal that you're number 15. But for the guys that are dropping five, I guess it's worse. I would say, yo, Bruce Buffer, we've worked together tons of times. Why don't you just leave that part out? But whatever. That's all. That's my take on your discovery. I have nothing else. Okay, good, Morsasi. I thought he had opportunities to finish the fight, and it didn't go that way. He kind of wrote it out to a decision. He was disappointed a little bit afterwards. Still saying that he's a bit in his head since the Uriah Hall spinning kick to the face, flying knee combination. But
yeah, he was winning that fight up until that point. That was unfortunate.
But that things have changed for him since that happened. So he has to try to make it back in the good graces. I don't know if that means taking another fight coming up on short notice, but it wasn't completely one-sided, but it felt like he could have finished latest, but that was my take from it.
Yeah, I mean, Latest started playing that game later on in the rounds where he would he would get put on his butt and then he would just stay there and sit and try and coax him in. It's like everybody knows you're a world-class jiu-jitsu guy. Nobody's gonna come just jump into your guard, so you have to fight.
Yeah.
If that happens at a grappling tournament, well, I don't know all the grappling tournaments. If that happens at a NEGA tournament, you're going to get penalized. You can't just you have to be engaging in a fight always. You can't be sitting and waiting for your opponent to engage. You have to both be engaging at the same time. If you're not, you're stalling, and you're going to get penalized. You're going to get warned for it, and if you do it again, you're going to get an advantage or a point taken away, and then the third time, you're going to get 2 points taken away, and the fourth time, you're out. You're done.
I'm going to send a link to everyone competing in the Naga in Albany, New York, and of this podcast that counts as you giving them the rules in advance.
Yeah, I've been diligently studying all of my rules over the course of the last week. That's as soon as we're done here, I've just been literally lying in my bed, reading the rules, sending off questions to friends that are more knowledgeable than me, that are actual refs, getting information from them, watching matches online and trying to score them as they go and see how close I am. And I'm doing all right. Things are all right. I'm feeling confident.
Yeah.
I get I just don't want to screw up anybody's match. People are driving there. They're spending a lot of money. They've invested a lot of time in the gym to go compete, and I want to give everybody a fair shake. So I want to make sure that I'm up to snuff, and I'm feeling good. I feel good. I feel like I'm ready to do it.
Give us an example of a rule or something that you're going to be on the lookout for.
Something I'll be on the lookout for. Well, here's the thing. So I talked to Tim McIntyre earlier today, and I have to send this to him and let him know because I don't think that he knows. It's just a small rule, but it's something that you wouldn't know if you don't train in a gi. Tim McIntyre does jiu-jitsu, but he does no gi jiu-jitsu exclusively. But he's traveling down to do this tournament in a couple of weeks called the Dragon's Lair, and he signed up for the gi tournament as well. And something that you wouldn't know if you don't train gi is that when someone has their gi here, if I'm going to grab this gi, I can either grab it like this and fold it over my hands, or I can put a thumb in here and do what's called a pistol grip like that. But what you can't do ever under any circumstances is put your hand inside of the sleeve like this and grab it. So I can put my thumb in, peel it back like that, grab it.
We'll cuff it.
I can put my thumb in here and do a pistol grip. But you cannot do this. You can't do it on the arms or the legs. So For those of you, nobody saw that. It was just we
There,
just showed, we just
YouTube
explained it to you.
YouTube viewers may have seen it.
Yeah, YouTube viewers may have seen it, but everyone is listening to this on iTunes or Podbean or any of that can't see it. But
We are rushing this to the presses because this is a Conor McGregor fight. It may not be a historic uniting of the lightweight and featherweight titles, but there is a big title card, title being contended, and that's the first ever bantamweight championship without Ronda Rousey in the main
right.
event, at least amongst females.
And this is the first time that a main event that is a co-main event, which is a title fight, is being a co-main event to a non-title fight, and that was since, like, I think it was UFC something like 51 or something, and it was the main fight was Tito Ortiz versus somebody, and then the co-main was a title fight. I don't remember any of that. Hey, in other news, I'll talk about it afterwards. I was gonna talk about the 2 weeks from now, the comedy show, but I'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay. Honestly, we're recording this on a Thursday. The fights were a Saturday. I don't remember the details on it, all of them. I remember the first fight of the night was a nice win for David Taymor against Martin Svensson in a match of two Team McGregor fighters from the most recent season of Tough.
Right.
And, Taymor beat him a minute 26 of round 2. TKO. That was exciting. And yeah. And Park lost by decision. My brain couldn't remember, but Norman Park lost to Bibelov. And of course, we should talk about the main event because I can't really offer that much else. Like,
well, I've watched it now 2 times all the way through, and a third time I did a cursory skimming of each because I really wanted to take in who I thought won that fight. And here's my take on it. When the first time I watched the whole fight through, when I watched it live on Saturday, I felt that Silva won the fight. When I watched it through, so I was watching it as a fan that first time, just strictly watching it for entertainment purposes, the enjoyment of watching the fight. The second time I watched it through, I watched it as a judge to try and figure out who I thought. I was just trying to be analytical, and here's how I scored it. I scored it the first round, Silva. The second round, Bisping, 100% Bisping. The third round, 100% Silva. The fourth round, Bisping was a lot busier, but Silva got the better strikes off, but I still gave it to Bisping. And then the fifth round, I gave to Silva for sure. So that was the second time watching the fight. So I had it 3 rounds, first, third, and fifth for Silva, and then the second and fourth for Bisping. So then I rewatched it a third time, and I can see where the first round could be given to Bisping. I could see where the judges would give the first round to Bisping. So it's a close thing. It's not a travesty of justice. Some people are, calling for people's heads. It's not that. It was a close fight. Silva was goofing off too much. He didn't take the opportunity to finish him when he could. He spent too much time doing his silly breakdance routines and which have served him well for many years, but I don't know that he's as fast or as confident as he ever was to be able to pull that stuff off. If he had that hard of a time doing that with Bisping, that's not going to fly with anybody up in the top of the weight class for sure. So if he just stuck to if he just didn't try to finish him as much. And the third round was I can't imagine what kind of a dump that is, where all of your energy is fucking pent up and you're fighting and then the fight is over and you
Yeah, but
exhale.
that's him.
You exhale. What?
Yeah, I really don't think that he thought that the fight was over then. It happened right after he hit him that the horn went off. Herb Dean was on top of it.
Of course he thought it was over. Why is he jumping on the fence? Of course he thought the
He
fight was
wanted it to
over.
be over. He wanted people to. It's like when the pitcher walks off the mound after he just throws a strike that's on the corner. He wants that call. He wants that walk-off home run. I've only watched the fight twice. I thought Bisping won the first round both times. The excitement of the third round was crazy, but he could have finished him off in the beginning of the fourth round. Bisping was still on the wobbliest of legs. He didn't even see a cut man. A cut man wasn't able to tend to him. He had a split above and under his eye.
That was a really unfortunate thing, and I felt like that was a real travesty. That was the only part of the whole thing where I felt like Herb Dean fucked up.
Herb Dean didn't fuck up. The people that they reacted to Anderson Silva's reaction, and
I understand that. I understand that. Everybody reacted, but because there was so much chaos in the ring, nobody got to attend to their fighters. Nobody got to sit down and regroup from the fight. Nobody got to see a cut man. Nobody got to be coached. It was complete
their
chaos.
corners were in there, but the cut men were working on them. Both guys' corners were in the octagon, but.
Okay. Do you think that they were getting the kind of attention that they need if there was no chaos going on in there?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm just saying
So
they were in the fucking octagon.
That's the fucking travesty. Is that your corner doesn't get a chance to fucking coach you, because that's what they're supposed to do. That's the minute that you have there to be coached, regain your fucking consciousness, come down to earth for a minute, hear what your corner has to say, relax, get some attention to your cuts. You're supposed to be able to do all those things in that minute. That minute serves a purpose. It's not just a minute that you set on fire. There's a reason for the minute. That minute didn't get appropriated the way it was supposed to be appropriated. So so you can either follow the letter of the law, or you can follow the intent of the law. And the letter of the law says that it's a minute between rounds. The intent of the law says that fucking minute is supposed to be there for you to get as much attention as you can from your corner. Cuts fixed, things seared up that need to be trimmed up or whatever. I don't know how I'm trying to say it. You need to slip the jab this way and then throw that right cross, and whatever it is that the corner has to say to them. All that stuff has a reason. So instead of following the intent of the intent for that minute, he followed the letter of that minute and said, "Minute's up. It's time to fight." So what he should have done is gotten everybody out of there. Now everybody goes to their corner. Now you have a minute to deal with your shit that you need to deal with in a minute, and then you come back out here and fight. The fact that he doesn't get to see a fucking cut man, that's bullshit. That's total bullshit. He has to go there with blood all over his fucking face, streaming out of it. What if he had gotten caught a couple more times there and it fucking ripped open more? He didn't have a chance to put fucking grease on it, so the glove slips off of it. And then the fight gets called for a cut. That's not fair to him. That's not fair to the audience. That's not fair to the process. That's not fair to the fight. It's not fair to the spirit of why they're in there being pugilists.
Oh, you're dropping pugilists on me. I'm just saying it's not Herb Dean's fault solely because the inspectors that were on outside, the people that are in charge of who comes into the octagon and who doesn't, the people that only allow 2 cornermen, that's why one has to stay outside until the end of the fight, they were persuaded by the actions of Anderson Silva, and all these people came into the octagon. So Herb Dean's running around. I'm just saying it was a very scary, very big clusterfuck, but not the onus of. If there's one person that's at fault, it's Anderson Silva. That's find me on Twitter at Matt Kona for hate. No, but I'm just saying crazy. But the point is, when we're talking about
Anderson Silva doesn't control the inside of the octagon.
There's
one person that's in control of the octagon, and that is the ref.
Yeah, but the door opens at the end of every round, and at the end of the fight, and different amounts of people come in. So if things just happen, boom, 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 at the end of the round, they saw him up there. So all the people that come in when the fight is over and the doors are open come in. So
here's all I'm saying is after it all gets. Once Silva realizes the fight's not over, once the corner realizes, once Bisping's corner realizes, once all of the extra people that are in the cage that don't need to be in there realize, once there is an acknowledgement that, oh shit, the fight's not over, then everyone needs to go to their corner and get seen by their corner people.
Nick,
that's all I'm saying.
I'm saying that you are a fool if you think that Anderson Silva didn't know the fight wasn't over. He knew exactly what he was doing in the same way that Pedro Martinez knew what he was doing when he was just walking off the mound on a close 3-2 pitch with 2 outs and a runner on third base. He was leaving there trying to, and even if that wasn't the case, maybe he wanted to create that chaos where Bisping thought he lost or he's bounced back. But anyway, Herb Dean has come out and done interviews. I actually have not watched them, but I did read an article, I believe, on MMA Fighting because he was on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. That Herb Dean looked at Bisping the whole time. He didn't see his eyes go completely out. It was a devastating shot, but it was just a million things happen in the fight. My point is, in the fight, which did continue, much to the danger of the face of Michael Bisping, Anderson Silva could have ended it easily in the 4th round. Bisping barely knew it was a 4th round going into it. He had to be told repeatedly by his corner. If this was the National Football League and that was a wide receiver, got kneed in the head or landed on his head, he would have had a concussion test and not been allowed back in. They don't have concussion tests in the UFC, so he went back out and fought, and he survived that 4th round. I would even say winning it, and then
I gave it to him because he was busier. I didn't think Anderson Silva got off the more substantiated strikes. He got off the strikes that meant something in that round, and Bisping didn't get off the strikes that meant something in that round. He pushed the action and he threw more volume, but he did not connect as much or as effectively as Silva did. But I gave him the round.
Mm-hmm. And round 5, he just survived. It was close at the end, but he just did pull it out. And
so how did you score the fight?
That's how I scored it. 1, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, and 4 for Bisping. I thought he won round 1 fairly.
1, 2, and 4. Okay.
Yeah, fairly soundly, and so that's how I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, if that fight was in Brazil, probably goes the other way. It's a close fight. It's a close fight. It's not. It wasn't a landslide either way. So it's not. Um, I definitely don't see that third round the same as you at all. I feel like Silva thought the fight was over. He jumped up on the ring. He didn't know what they were. He didn't understand. He wasn't getting what they were fucking saying to him. There's a huge energy dump after that. There's a big exhale. The fight's over. You don't have to be on your guard anymore. It's like when you eat and your body temperature drops because now you don't have to hunt for food anymore. So that's the physiology. Um, the fight's over. He doesn't have to be on his guard. He doesn't have to have that testosterone coursing through his veins in such high amounts that his body needs in order to fight another human being. So if there wasn't that confusion, who knows? I don't think it was purposeful in the least. We're on opposite sides of many theoretical conspiracies.
I don't think there's any conspiracy. He's been in 35 fights. He knows when a ref does this is the end of the fight. When the ref doesn't do that, when an air horn sounds, is he playing hockey? Has a fight ever ended with an air horn sound? Besides,
So what does Herb Dean have to say? What has Herb Dean said? You said he's come out to say stuff. What has he said exactly?
I said it. He said the only thing that I know about what he said was about watching Michael Bisping and making sure that he wasn't actually KO'd,
Right.
and that's why the fight was allowed to continue, because he wasn't KO'd. He got
Right.
kicked.
I agree. He wasn't KO'd. If there was 10 seconds left in that round, he's KO'd because Silva would have gotten on top of him and rained down another 10 punches, and Herb Dean would have stopped it. But uh, I agree he wasn't KO'd. But that's the only thing that you heard from Herb Dean, that he just was making sure that.
I just said I haven't
Okay.
watched his full interview, but
Okay. All right.
that's all that's all I have to offer in the world of Herb Dean. But
I
let's
don't. It doesn't benefit Silva to not get that rest period. It doesn't benefit Silva to fake the ending of the fight.
It's all mind games. You think Bisping was on his stool? He was so dazed. He looked like he was complaining about the stoppage because
Right.
he
He thought the
thought it
fight was
was
over
over
too.
too.
Right.
And it's all based on that's why I'm using the pitcher analogy. You create the reality, you create the perception, and other people follow suit. That's why catchers move their glove up in the strike zone to make you think you saw a thing that you didn't. And it looked like he knocked him out with the knee. If I was in the stands, I would have thought that, because Herb Dean is right there. He was there to get in between them at the end of the round, which is standard, and that's exactly what he did. He wasn't waving his hands in the air. He just got right between them after the knee landed and the buzzer sounded. That's all. That's how I saw it, and it looked like Diaz was even trying to be cute with the guy who was pulling him down. Sorry, not Diaz. Silva was up on top of the cage, and the guy was saying the fight is not over. The fight is not over, and he's doing the praying thing.
He's asking him to. Here's what he thinks. Here's what Silva thinks. Silva thinks the guy is telling him, "Hey, you have to get off the cage." And Silva's going, "Please let me just be on the cage. I want to celebrate. So please let me be." He doesn't understand. His English is not very good.
His English was
So
pretty good until he got popped for steroids, and then all of a sudden he needed a translator at all the court hearings, and he's needed one since then.
his English is not that the best. He could survive in America if he never had a translator, but it's not the best English. And he was confused. It didn't look like he was being cutesy at all, because once he realized he said it, then another dude came over and said something, and he went, "Fuck!"
But even if even still, he knows how hard that damage was to him. He should have been able to finish him off with anything, like jabs. He was on such wobbly legs at the beginning of the fourth round, but instead he ended up losing the fourth round and having to try to make up with it with 2 minutes left in the fifth round to pour it on.
That's not. It's a poor game plan. I don't know what his game plan was, but it wasn't a good game plan.
Yeah, I mean, he's always done the thing where he pretends to be hurt and to lure you in, and he's trying to fuck with everyone.
The Michael Bisping of 5 years ago would have fucking knocked the Anderson Silva of 5 years ago would have knocked Michael Bisping out in a fucking 1 or 2 rounds. It makes me sad. It bums me out that I don't see that dude ever being a viable fighter again. But who knows? Weirder shit's happened on this planet.
Yeah,
he's the best that has ever been. The best martial artist, best mixed martial artist that we've ever seen. And
you don't speak for me.
I hope to. I know you're all up McGregor's a-hole.
I don't think McGregor's the greatest. I think it's too soon to say who's the greatest anyway. It's just I feel like this is a sport that's been around for 20 years, but it hasn't really been the true mix of everything until the last year. Anyway, I think I gotta get going. We should wrap this up and do our picks for the top. I say we do the whole card. There's 5 fights on the main card. It starts with the women's bantamweight one. I say we might as well do the whole.
Let me clock into my fucking thing because it never works out right. So I'm gonna clock into I'm gonna click it off. I'm gonna clock in and click off. I'm gonna go into my picks. I'm gonna go into my my fantasy, and I'm gonna log in and click off. And here we go, logging in. Here it is.
What's your password?
Let's see if that works. Good to go. Here we go. All right.
Well, the main card begins with the second fight from the only woman to ever defeat Joanna Jędrzejczyk 2 times in Muay Thai.
Shevchenko?
Shevchenko, yes. She has gone up in weight to bantamweight, no more. Or maybe Joanna dropped down to strawweight, not sure. But she's fighting Amanda Nunes. Who you got?
Okay.
Click it off.
I'm going to click off on Shevchenko.
Okay.
I'm going to give Shevchenko a click off. I'm going to go by round 1 knockout.
Okay. All right.
Who you got?
I like Shevchenko. I thought she looked good in her debut at the UFC and Fox in December. But Amanda Nunes is kind of a beast, so I'll pick Amanda Nunes submission, second round.
All right. We got Corey Anderson, Tom Lawler.
Dirty Tom Lawler? Is it Dirty his nickname? Yeah. Filthy Tom Lawler. I think that's it.
Filthy Tom, that's right.
Hasn't fought since UFC 189. Corey Anderson is. I'll pick first. I'll take Corey Anderson by decision.
I'm gonna do the same. It's the same exact pick. So.
Oh, we've got a match.
Let me see. Maybe. Nah. I feel like these guys are both game, and it's just gonna come down to Anderson's wrestling, and him being on top for most of it, and that's gonna make a decision happen. So.
And then Jean Vellante and
Ilir
Latifi, who we last saw in Boston. I missed. I went to the concession stand for 5 seconds, and I missed his performance bonus earning knockout of the night,
Mm.
or performance of the night. But who do you got? Who you picking?
I got Vellante. I'm gonna go Vellante by second round submission.
Okay. Well, I'm changing my pick after this. I don't want to have samesies.
Oh, you had the same exact one?
No, I didn't have second round submission. I had by
Oh.
decision, and that's not
Okay.
fun. But Latifi, I mean, I'm excited to see him since I missed him live. So I think he'll take out Jean Vellante, but I am looking forward to the fight just because my favorite corner man, Ray Longo, will be in his corner. Maybe with Chris Weidman, former middleweight champ.
It will be Weidman. It will be Weidman. I've seen the I don't know if you saw today's.
I saw the first 3 embeddeds. So
Yeah, so the embedded you see Weidman is hanging with him, so I imagine he's going to be in his corner. No, he actually is going to be in his corner because he mentioned that he's going to be in his corner. So there you go.
The quote. And finally, the co-main event, the championship. Holly Holm defending her title for the first time since head kick knockout of Ronda Rousey back in November against Strikeforce champion Misha Tate.
Holy shiznit.
Yeah.
That was a fucking crazy fight. I got home by first round knockout.
Ooh, wow. Okay. Well, first round knockout. See, I have Holm winning by decision. That's how I see it happen.
All right. Okay.
5 rounds. It's going to be the only co-main event that's 5.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if she can be a lot safer than Rousey was and not be as aggressive. I mean, that was the downfall of Rousey, was her too much belief in herself, her being way too aggressive and meeting up with a powerful counterpuncher.
Right.
So, but if Tate tries to play it safer, I could see it going to a decision. But
I'm looking forward to it, though. I don't know. I just have a feeling it'll go to decision. I feel like Tate will be tentative. They'll try to lock up in the clinch, and she'll try to grapple with her to get her to the ground. I think she'll try to stay within her range, so Holm can't circle the whole octagon, punching and kicking at will. But I don't know. From all the Holmes before Rousey fight have all gone to decision in the UFC. And granted, it's only been 2 fights,
right.
But that's just sort of how I see it. I haven't seen. I mean, Misha Tate's last few fights have all gone to decision as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that Holm turned a corner after that last fight and really is going to start letting loose on some bitches. I think I think it was like she said, she's been holding back, and now she's not going to be holding back anymore. I see her mowing people down.
First round KO, hey.
First round KO.
That leads us to the main event, the welterweight bout between Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor.
And I say bitches as in reference to a fighter, not in the fact that they're women fighters. So I would have said it about
just
men
a coincidence.
fighters. I'm saying it to our listening public who might get offended by me calling them bitches. I was.
If they lasted an hour into this podcast without being offended yet,
right,
I will be surprised. Because
I would have said the same thing about men fighters. So
and Diaz says bitch a lot in the octagon, calling people.
Yeah, that's true.
So your call of Holly Holm, Misha Tate is
first round knockout.
Yeah,
knock the fuck out first round.
Yeah, and that will be my pick for the main event. Conor McGregor knocking out Nick Diaz, round 1. clean.
All right. I'm gonna go.
Jiu-jitsu?
You know what? I feel like McGregor's gonna win the fight, but I'm gonna, just to be contrarian, I'm gonna go Diaz by 3rd round submission.
Oh, all right. Well, there you have it. Will Nick officially make his picks in time for the fight?
I got them saved. They're all done. It's all saved right
All
now.
right.
I just have to finish the rest of the card, but everyone you just covered is all saved.
Cool. And there's a big press conference. If you're listening to this tonight, there's a press conference tomorrow, Friday, March 4th. UFC's next 4 months of announcements. So maybe we'll respond to that. Probably not. Whatever.
And if you're still listening, we have a book to give away still. We've had it for a few weeks now.
I finished reading it, but we've got it right here. The Crippler, Cage Fighting, and My Life on the Edge by
By
Chris.
Chris Lieben. It's a brand new book, folks. All you got to do is just leave us a review, a favorable review. You can't leave us a shitty review. We're
If you
not
give
going
us
to
a
give you.
shitty review, we'll just send you 1 page of the book.
That's right. We'll burn most of the book and then send you the charred remains of the book. If you give us a shitty review.
Yes.
You give us a nice review on iTunes, and when we get 5 of them, there are 3 there now. So you said it was not a very tall order to get 5 more, but we still haven't gotten 1 more since I announced it the first time, which was like 3 podcasts ago. So here we go. We're still looking for those. We can't. It doesn't show up in the rating doesn't show up unless you get a certain amount of them. So we need a certain amount of them there, because then people can see what other listeners have rated the podcast, and it will help them make a decision on whether they want to download it or not. So it would be helping us by putting a nice review up there. And once we get 5 more of them, we're going to pick somebody and send them a copy of this book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
We have some T-shirts to give away too.
yeah, tune in to look at our Twitter. We'll send out a link. You can see our picks if they've changed on fight night. If you have any questions, how do I leave an iTunes review? We'll show you how to Google that sentence instead of asking us. And great. Everyone will be perfect. We're all going to win in the end.
All right.
Awesome. Well, good first live broadcast. Thanks for those of you who have watched this, and please tune in again next time.
All right. MManiacs over and out.
Woo, good night.
Peace. That's your line.
Peace.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So stop that. So it's not live anymore, right?
Yeah, it's stopping.
Gary and Peter are coming up, and Rob Crean are coming up on the 16th too. Just a FYI, if you wanted to catch a ride up with those guys.
I could catch a ride up with those guys, but I don't know if. What is it?
Oh shit! Never mind. They're